Did not. Okay, there it goes. Hey, and we're live. Hey,
What's
hello,
happening?
everybody, and hello, Troy.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I
What is
come with
that?
oh, that's for the Festivus Serenity Now coming up. Festivus on
Oh,
the 23rd.
that's right.
Seinfeld
That's coming up. That's Monday?
Monday. Yeah,
Monday. I've got Pete Evick from Brett Michaels band on Monday, so that should be
right
fun.
on. All
Mhm.
right, we like Pete.
Are you friends with him?
I know Pete. Yeah, I mean, I would say we're friends in the industry. Certainly friendly. I don't talk to him too much, but I've done some shows with him when I was out TMing Bobby Blotzer's Rat. We did a lot of shows with Brett and got to deal firsthand with Pete quite a bit because he kind of handles the day-to-day stuff there. So, but yeah, he's super easy to work with, super cool guy. And, yeah, we did, Evic opened up for Mike Tramp's White Lion back in '05. And I feel like, and I think when we did the Mike Tramp solo show in 2001, we played Jackson, Virginia, which is where Evic is from. I feel like they played that show as well. So I've known Pete for over 20 years.
Damn. So
Yeah.
were you there on the night? Because he told the story last time he was on my podcast where they were doing a show. And it was like Brett Michaels and Great White and Bobby Blotzer's Rat. And he said that Blotzer wanted to give all of his band members a platinum record, even though none of them played on the record. He's like, I'm giving them a platinum record tonight. They need the best dressing room. But Jack Russell, it was when he was having health issues. And Pete was like, no, Jack needs the closest dressing room because he can't walk very far. He's struggling.
Yeah.
And I guess there was some issue. I don't know. It was a funny story.
Yeah.
I was just like,
if you look right there, that's the Rat Platinum album.
Right, you got one?
Fuck yeah, I got one. Here's the thing though. It doesn't matter that he gave it to those guys. Those gold records and platinum records are often given to people in radio, band managers, agents, investors. Those people don't play on the album.
Yeah.
A lot of them aren't even musicians. It's meant as a gift to commemorate millions of sales in that case. And for people that
nice
have
gesture
something to do with it, it's a great, those things they're not cheap. They're like $400 each, cost them almost $3,000. And they came all, packaged and everybody got to open them up. So, I love Pete and that's great. But, and Bobby got a lot of flack. Like, hey, these guys are, this isn't Rat and they didn't play on the album. It doesn't matter that those albums that commemorate sales, those, right there, those awards are often given to people. Obviously, the musicians in the band, the whole idea is to get one too if you played on the album, but it was often given out, and you can find them on eBay. People,
you can buy them.
So listen,
I'd buy one.
I get Pete's thing about those guys aren't even going to band.
Well, but I think his whole thing was just the dressing room. That was like he was giving Jack the dressing room so he could walk that far. And I understand Bobby's side of it too. It's just kind of the way Pete tells the story is just funny because it's like, Jack can't walk. Like, I get that you want to do this nice thing for your bandmates and stuff.
Yeah. He, I didn't even know it was happening when it was going on. So when, we were dealing with the room issue, it's funny that this even came up because Bobby and I spoke about this just last week, and because I'm actually out working with the Dokken band now, kind of in that same capacity, helping out at shows, at flights, whatever, and we did shows obviously with Dokken, same agency booking both the bands, but I didn't know that this was an issue. And it's funny that Bobby said, hey, I recommended you, for the job with Don. He goes, you always did me right, except for that one time when we got the dressing room. And I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, I remembered the plaque there. I didn't remember the whole thing about the room. He's like, yeah, you kind of did me dirty because we didn't. I go, dude, I don't even remember why it was a room, why it was the thing. But obviously he was a little bummed out. He wanted to have this nice dressing room. I think the Rat was just direct support, just below, Brett. So while there is a pecking order, you got to go, hey, listen, this guy can't walk. We can't put him at the other side of the arena. That's just how you
exactly. Like, I understand what Bobby's trying to do. And he's not well, fuck Jack Russell. He probably just didn't even know about that or think about it, or he was just wanting to do something nice for his band.
Of course.
And then it's like, and Pete, you know, he's just got such a big heart. He just wants to, he was looking out for Jack, which I think was really cool. But yeah, I don't know. It's just it's one of those silly things. Like you hear those kinds of stories and they're just like, I mean, it's all just so like, and yeah, I hear that kind of stuff all the time, these replacement member thing. And I'm like, I don't care. I think it's cool that people keep the music alive. I mean, Quiet Riot, is Rudy back in the band now? So is it just Rudy Sarzo's the only original member? Well, he's the bass player. I mean, nothing against bass players, but like he didn't sing the songs. I don't think that he necessarily had a huge hand in writing the songs, but whatever, who cares? Like if you want to hear Quiet Riot songs, you go see Quiet Riot. Like, I mean, unless you are thinking of getting a Quiet Riot tribute band, which I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, and it's the prime example of this is Foreigner, where they're going out where even Mick Jones isn't a part of it, because of his health issues. But he's the guy that owns the name or the brand or whatever and oversees it. But he is often not out on stage. I think he did 1 or 2 gigs just in the last year, if that, and he comes out and does a couple songs. In fact, we did see him in Vegas, but man, time flies. And I think something was just, this past year, but meanwhile, it may have been 18 to 20 months ago. But the last time we saw Foreigner here in Vegas, he came out and did the last 3 songs, but he doesn't do that at every concert. So,
there is an original member in Foreigner too. Like, is it the guitar player or something?
No, it's just Mick. He's the guy, Mick Jones.
Okay.
Yeah. Because Lou is doing his own thing. But yeah, Mick, the guitar player.
Oh yeah, so Mick, that's what I mean. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. Lou Graham's the singer.
Yeah,
and then Mick is okay. No, but that's like, yeah, guitar is.
But Mick is often not there.
Yeah.
If there's 20 shows in a year, he's there maybe 1 or 2. So, and as the years have gone by, that his appearances are less and less. But they're a prime example of a, hey, it's just a tribute band. Obviously, the name Foreigner and the 8 million hits they have, every song is a hit. They can go up there and represent it how they do, and it's awesome. And they were kind of a faceless band, Motley Crue really can't go out there. I mean, they tried to do it in '94 with Corabi, even though I think my favorite Motley album. Some people say it's not a Motley album, but they couldn't put any asses in the seats because it wasn't Vince, So, but you get rid of Tommy, and they put in I don't remember, the Samantha Maloney, the girl drummer, was there for a little bit, and I don't think that, I mean, Tommy's a big part of Motley Crue, but I don't think that affected their ticket sales so much. But you get rid of somebody like Vince, who arguably isn't a great singer, especially putting on live performances these days. I don't think he's the greatest. He's the guy. So
yeah, it's a very distinct sound, but it's interesting. There are some good Motley tribute bands that I think do very well. And there's one here, I forget the name of it, but I saw him and it was amazing. I enjoyed seeing a Motley tribute band in a small club more so than seeing the arena tour. I mean, that's just because I don't like the big arena things anyways. Yeah. And it's just a pain in the ass. It doesn't sound good with the echoey, because it's the indoor arena the one I went to. And so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just think live music is great. I love seeing anything. We were just eating dinner and there's some guy playing guitar, singing, and he sounded great to me. I can't play an instrument, so I'm fascinated by anybody who is actually good at playing an instrument, because I sucked. So I think it's amazing.
But you're a great fan of music,
yes,
Chuck, and
I'm a fan.
Show, and you interview a lot of musicians and people in the industry, and then of course all walks of life on your show, which is great. But music needs big fans of music, and you're fan enough that you started a show and brought people on the show to talk about the backstories, and that's that helps the cause when people get to kind of know a little bit more about behind the scenes stuff. So fans are important.
It's like I'm sure it's the same when you were a kid. It was like these people that played music were so mysterious. You didn't have social media, so you didn't know what they were having for dinner. So if you learned anything about them, if there was any sort of blurb in Metal Edge, a paragraph about Motley Crue and anything, I was just my eyes were glued to this. What happened? What's going on? Like I was so fascinated. And sometimes you wouldn't hear about one of your favorite bands for months or maybe even years. And you had no idea, were they even still making music? What are they doing? Do they have a day job? Like, you don't know anything.
There was a big mystique with all of our favorite bands in the 70s and 80s. And then, now you can tweet Wolfgang Van Halen and piss him off, and it'll come after you and block you. You know what I mean?
And he'll call you a grape, or what did he call somebody? A grape or melon head or something?
Yeah, which is a great name. It's as good as a Yoho. Yoho is another good name for somebody. But anyway, the access to stars and artists and celebrities now is so different that you can just, people, and they do it. You can just troll people and get blocked or deleted, or Sebastian Bach's very reactive on Twitter.
Dude, he blocked me on Instagram because one time I went to his Instagram. I was like, "Oh, did he delete his Instagram?" I was like,
"Block Chuck Shoot."
He fucking blocked me. I'm like, I've never said anything bad.
That's like blocking Mother Teresa.
No, I mean, I don't think I've ever said anything bad about him on Instagram. And I've only commented, if I comment on his stuff, I was always complimentary because I'm a huge fan. Yeah. Even though I don't agree with some of the things he says, I still like his music. I had his guitar player on my show about his latest album who co-wrote a lot of the music and played guitar. And I told him, I was like, I love this album. I think it's fucking awesome. It sounds amazing.
I think it's his best solo album.
Best solo album, yeah.
I mean, and I have it on my, list. If we get into any list of stuff in 2024, very, very high up there, as far as, that album came out, right? The child behind the man, or the man and the child. I don't know what the
childish man behavior. Whatever.
The child within the man. I think that came out in 24, right?
Yeah.
So,
no,
strong album.
It's a great album. Like, the guy has good taste in music, and he clearly orchestrate. I don't know that Sebastian's writing a lot of the songs in terms of the music. Maybe I know it does sound like he wrote a lot of the lyrics, but he's telling Devin, what to write, and directing it and help produce it or whatever you're going to call it. I mean, the guy is a visionary and he's a great singer. And I thought the album was awesome. I loved it. And I would love to interview Sebastian. I think one of my podcast buddies said he was very close to having Sebastian on his show and it fell through, but I don't even think I've ever gotten a response about, they just ignore me. They don't even reply, or they say maybe once or twice I got oh, I'll look into that or something. Never, nothing. And I would do the best fucking interview with that guy. I don't care who the fuck, Eddie Trunk, whatever, fuck those guys. They aren't as big a fan as me. I would do all the homework. I would ask him the deep cuts, and I think it'd be an amazing interview.
And here's the thing, though, I think he would appreciate that because he is a huge fan of Kiss, and he knows the deep cuts.
Exactly.
I think he would appreciate that sort of insight.
We'd have a great chemistry. I have high energy. He has high energy. I met him twice, and it was really amazing. It was fun. It was so fun. Just having a 5-minute interaction with him was amazing. I was I know if we had a 30 or 40-minute podcast, even, it would be awesome. So
well,
look for that because I think it's going to happen. If not 2025, maybe 2026. I got some stuff that I'm going to be working on that I think is going to be kind of a back door into this podcast world, because just going through the publicists and shit and through contacts and friends and things, that's not working for me. I got to do something bigger. So look for a Sebastian Bach interview coming from me. So I think it's going to happen. It's on my bucket list. I feel like Axl Rose too, but I don't know if that'll happen or how soon. That might be a while. That could be a decade. But
he doesn't do a lot of interviews. But hey, well, you heard it here first.
Well, who could do it? I mean, I feel like I could do the best Axl Rose interview too. I mean, I think I would love to see him on Joe Rogan for 3 hours just to dissect that man and his brain and what he thinks and how he came up with music. And I mean, his whole backstory is so fascinating. I mean, the guy is just fascinating. He's an enigma. I mean, him and Izzy would also, that's a bucket list guess for me.
Well, when's the last time he even was in public or spoke out or cited or anything? I mean, so that'd be a huge catch too. That's the
who are your bucket list guests?
Bucket list guest. That's a good question. I wish I would have prepared for that. I might have some more answers for you.
You don't have it in the you don't have it in the back of your mind, you're always thinking about it, or
I'm very reactionary. So when I see somebody in the news or I see something or something comes up, then I'm like, oh, that would be a good person. I just, I'm working on having oh my God, forgive me. Who's the bass player in the Go-Go's? Why can't I think of her name?
I know. I don't know. If you
Terrible.
told, I might recognize the
I
name.
know her name. It's hang on.
Oh, would like Peter Chris be one of your top guests to get, or if you had him?
No. I don't know. Kathy Valentine. Sorry about that. Sorry, Kathy. I saw her in England when we were out with Gilby Clarke on tour just about a month or so ago, October, November, and she came to the very last gig and with Glenn Matlock from Sex Pistols. Anyway, I talked to her. She lives in England now, and she's kind of getting back into music. And Go-Go's, I think, have some festival play this year too, coming up in 2025. But I'm going to have her on the show. I actually jammed with her a long, long time ago, and we started talking about who we jammed with, and she remembered it because she remembered this one person in common. His name's Muddy Stardust. He played in Burning Tree and played with Gilby back in the day. And
wasn't he in LA Guns?
He played in LA Guns. Yeah, bass player. But great musician. Great guy, little wacky, but I mean that in the best positive way. He's.
Were you ever in LA Guns? I feel like you're like the one member rock star that was not in LA Guns.
It's funny you say that. I think there was some. Tracy Guns had tweeted something answering a question about. There was some reference to how many people were in LA Guns, and I think he responded with some, snarky remark. Might have called him a melon or whatever. Anyway, I said, fun fact, I'm one of the few people that have never been in LA Guns. And he wrote below, and you never will be. And I was like,
I remember that. Yeah. Wasn't that? Did that make Metal Sludge or something, or did I just see that? Because I remember seeing that.
Yeah, it may have. Okay. I wish I had a screen grab of it.
Maybe you shared it or somebody shared that. I definitely saw that. Yeah,
I think Tracy has me blocked on Twitter. I was like, and we've done tours before. I mean, it was a joke. Like we had a bucket and we put a foam thing. There's a picture actually on Metal Sludge of Tracy sitting on a bucket, like as if he's going to the bathroom on the stage, which would actually almost happen in reality years later. So in 2010, I'm out touring with LA Guns, whatever version was there, Faster Pussycat and John Corabi. I'm playing with John Corabi. And this is 2010. And what was it? Just a few years ago that, Tracy, due to some heat, stayed in a room and played in a bathroom, played a show. We took a photo of that in 2010 when he was sitting on a bucket, on stage. But we had a lot of laughs on that tour. We totally got along. So I don't know where he interpreted that as me being a dick. I mean, listen, you've had 100 guys in your band. Just laugh about it. That's what it's taken to get to where you are today. Those other lineups, while you and Phil are mad at each other, are keeping you guys going to now is what, three albums now, another one coming out soon of the reunion of Phil and Tracy, the original guys, the OGs. I mean, classic OGs, I should say. But it's like those hundreds of people that have been in the band got you and kept it going, kept the wheels on the bus until you guys figured it out and were able to come back and they're putting on great shows. They, played their 2-night stint here in Vegas like they do every year at Vamped. And I'm sure it was amazing. Phil's kicking ass. Tracy's a kick-ass guitar player. But when I wrote that and he interpreted it the way he did and then got mad about it, I was like, wow, there must be something else going on, or he doesn't like me, because it was poking fun at something that's factual. And if you can't poke fun at yourself, then you're in the wrong business, bro. But whatever. Tracy Guns doesn't like me.
You roasted him. But the thing is like, I think it's just online shit. You know what I mean? It's like Sebastian Bach and going back to Sebastian Bach. I mean, he's had issues with a lot of people. I think he had something with Michael Sweet from Stryper, and they were about to, I think he's threatened to kick his ass or something. And then they saw each other on the Monsters of Rock cruise. And I think there was a picture of them like hugging. Yeah, like they actually just squashed it. And that's how guys should be. Guys, we don't give a fuck, right? I used to be a counselor in the schools. Kids would literally beat the shit out of each other. The next day they'd tell me, hey, can you talk to these kids and work it out? Yeah, okay. Bring the kids in my office. And like, yeah, man, sorry. Yeah, okay. Handshake, boom. And they're done. They don't give a fuck. It's girls, like, I'm not to be sexist, but it's just a fact. Women are the one that usually hold the grudges.
You're gonna get canceled.
I know, I'm already canceled. Nobody's fucking watching. So I'm just saying, like, women are usually the ones
watching. But Greg, I said Greg Peterson's watching. I see a comment.
Oh shit, I didn't even look at the comments. But yeah, I think it's typically women that hold the grudges. So if you want to be a man then you shouldn't hold a grudge. I don't know. That's just my way to get people to not hold a grudge against me. Oh, I see Greg Peterson. Yes. Does Troy, he has a question. Does Troy miss playing with Pretty Boy Floyd? Oh, I remember you told me a funny story about that. How you got into a fight with the
Christy Majors. You better watch. He's probably going to copyright the fact that his name was mentioned. He's going to send you a copyright strike, and those will be deleted from the archives. But yeah, no, it was the last time I played with them, and it was in Stockholm, Sweden, and I was an agent working at his former agency, or there's something with the agency too that his agency has since split up. There's some legal stuff going on. I'm not too privy on all of it, but the two guys that have been in business together for 25 years is now suing each other and have split. And they both have the same roster. They both think they represent the same band. So it's something that will get litigated in court. But this affects bands like Faster Pussycat and sometimes the Misfits. Let me see here. Because this is interesting stuff, because there are a lot of bands that we go and see and play with and tour with that are out there, like Tantric's a band, Gene Loves Jezebel, Gilby Clarke, Bang Tango, Black Flag, Glenn Hughes, the Choir Boys, Sponge, so you get it, right? There's all these bands on the roster, and Christy Majors was an owner or is an owner. I don't know the legalities of what's going on with that, but anyway, short story long, I had booked a bunch of bands in Stockholm that were on our roster. I handled the agent part of it, and I worked with the promoter and did a bunch of artwork and got shout outs and got video. And I really tried to help him out and go above and beyond, because he had booked like 4 of the bands on the roster for his festival. So when I checked in, normally we get 2 rooms. So 2 guys to a room, right? And he gives me a key, and the bass player I would room with had our key as well. So I'm like, wait, what's this key? He's like, I got you a room for all the stuff he did, because I went above and beyond, and he gave us an extra room. So I took the room, I went up. I didn't know the bass player had our room yet. So I went and got the key. I'm trying to message him going, hey man, I'm in the room. He comes out in the hallway. He's like, dude, we're here. I'm like, oh, I got another room. Where's Chris and Steve? Well, they weren't in their room. They somehow went downstairs, right? I missed them in the elevator. And then Chris found out that I had an extra key, an extra room. He thought I was trying to just like bogart it and I was looking for them to go, hey, I have a 3rd room. Why don't you and Steve split up? Well, he was already pissed, had it in his head that I was taking this room, which was totally crazy because we had just checked in. This is within the first hour of just arriving in Sweden, Yeah. So he chased me down the hallway. Chris Six, the bass player, tackled him, and I went into my room, and it was pretty much, that's it, you're fired. Well, we still had a gig to do, and I was like, I could really make this interesting, but hey, listen, I'm a pro, and I'm going to get up there. I'm going to kick ass. I knew that set as well as anybody, and we were firing on all cylinders. And I still tell Steve to this day, I said, that was the best lineup of the band that you've ever had, with the exception of the OGs. And I stand by that. It really was a great lineup. And anyway, short story long, it got all patched in. I was no longer playing in Floyd, but I was still working at the agency. But my time there would shortly thereafter would end. But, Steve was all worried. He's like, hey, bro, you going to throw the show? And I'm like, dude, do you think I'm not the asshole here, man? I'm going to go up there and kick ass because I got to represent myself.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, I'm not going to throw you under the bus. Meanwhile, making myself look not professional just to spite you guys. It's not worth it,
Right.
I would rather have a better reputation than my thoughts on how they handled things. Listen, the guy chasing you down to fight you over what? That's crazy. That's totally unnecessary. But, Chris and I are, we're on terms. We're not on bad terms. We don't talk, but I did talk to him. I've talked to him since that happened, probably a couple times. And we're always cordial. We're good.
That's good. That's cool, good, man. It reminds me of, it's funny you said Stockholm, Sweden, because my brother, I always think of this when I think of Stockholm, when I hear Stockholm, because my brother was on Wheel of Fortune once.
Yeah.
And for some reason he guessed Stockholm, Germany. And it was Stockholm, Sweden. I don't know why he said Germany. And I think there's like a clip of it somewhere on YouTube. Somebody like made a video, it's like them just recording their TV or whatever, and they're like, "Look at this jackass" or whatever. My brother found it, sent it to me. Look, I made YouTube. And, it's kind of funny, but that's cool that he did a Wheel of Fortune. And yeah, it's like that is those kinds of stories. Like I love hearing the behind the scenes things. I think that's what's
crazy.
That's why Axl Rose would be such an amazing guest, because there's stuff like that's happened in Guns N' Roses, but how many? For if you're a current member like Duff or Slash, you ain't talking about the old days and shit. And also, like, they might not remember it. And then if you're a current member, I know they're not allowed to talk, because Richard Fortus and was the drummer Frank Fair or whatever, like they have like some sort of NDA, I'm sure, because I've watched interviews and they don't say anything. There's no juicy dirt, but I know there's some stories. And I bet if you just got Axl comfortable, give him a few cocktails or whatever, just like if Rogan could do it. I think Rogan could do a good interview. I think I could do a good interview too, but get him comfortable and just get some of those stories out. I don't think Axl was as fucked up as the rest of the band in the 80s, so he might remember a lot of more stuff than some of those other guys.
That's very possible.
Yeah. I want to read some of those books, like Steven Adler's book and Slash's books and Duff's book, but I heard Slash doesn't remember, like, whatever 15 or 20 years, like there's a chunk of time that is just gone in his mind.
I bet. I never dove into drugs at all, ever, and I don't remember stuff. I don't even know who you are right now, so it's serious. But I hear a lot of stories and people, and I'm like, God, when did that happen? It's so weird. But then there's dumb shit I remember, totally unnecessary, clogging up the hard drive. But the important stuff, some of the memories, I have to have people tell them. But the great thing is I get to live them all over again as if it was something new. So
does it blur together though? Because I mean, obviously, like your first gig or your first big gig or some sort of special gig, you're gonna remember. But if it's just like you did 50 dates with White Lion and like you went from one city to another, like it probably blurs together, and you're like, if there wasn't anything spectacular, like the power didn't go out or you didn't have somebody throw a bottle at you on stage or something crazy, like you probably just don't remember. You can't tell the difference from one show to the next.
And for the most part, that's what it is like. But I always say, you talk about the long travel and layovers and TSA and flights canceling, the travel, the long days, you sound check, set up, that's 3 times longer than the actual show. You it's all this extra stuff, and it just runs into one another. So I always say, nobody's getting rich off this, but I say we do it for the stories, because it's really sometimes all about the stories.
Well, and especially with the fans, right? Because for the fan, like for you, it's like gig number 37 of 52. Yeah. But for the fan, that's the one show they went to that month. They saved up their money. They took out their girlfriend. They got a babysitter, and they're having a few beers for the first time that month or whatever. And like, they're going to remember that show way more than you will. It'll be much more memorable.
And you got to remember that stuff when you're seeing people or meeting people, because, and then they also have to understand that you're grinding this out day after day after day. And, you're not with your family, you're traveling, the bus broke down, whatever it is, so fans need to understand that, hey, that guy was kind of an asshole. For that 30 seconds you had an interaction or something, you don't know what the other 24 hours have been like,
Right.
And the opposite side is that, artists that are in this cycle and things are mundane, they got to remember that, like you said, this is the first time or the only time they're out that month, or, they saved up to come see the gig, buy a t-shirt and buy a couple beers. That's their, 2 hours with you. So you gotta still remember to give them something, and remember that they, that's their snapshot of the day. And, your last month looked like, each day, that's all the same. So I think both people have to understand the different dynamics.
Yeah. But I mean, it sounds like you have a good reputation for those kinds of things, like the discipline of being in a rock band and doing all the right things and not having a lot of fist fights or whatever, because you played with so many different people.
Yeah. I suppose, I think it's the big picture. There's a lot of great drummers out there. There's a lot of people that know how to do other stuff. I try to wear a lot of hats and bring something positive to the table. And I'm, OCD to resolve things. So when things are, that's like a puzzle to me when something is wrong, and I want to. And there's a lot of people that just don't have that mindset. They're not problem solvers. They're fully left brain, so they're very creative. And I feel like I'm, kind of in the middle, but I teeter a little bit more towards the right brain, where I deal with problems and solutions, and even though I play drums and stuff, and I can hum melodies and sing a little bit, and I've helped write some songs back in my day, and I have ideas. I think I'm more kind of right-brained, where guitar players and singers are very typically left-brained, but there are exceptions to the rule. But to kind of go back to your point about being so fortunate to play with so many bands, it's, I think, wearing a lot of hats, and bringing a little bit more to the table than just playing drums, because there's a lot of great drummers out there.
Yeah. Tell me about, I don't think we've ever talked about your time with CC Deville. Like, I don't even know if I knew that, but when I was like, I think I was trying to find a picture for the live stream, and I looked on your bio and it said that you played with CC Deville, and I was like, I don't even remember that. Like, was that with Adam Hamilton, or who was in that?
No. So it was Samantha 7, but it wasn't really Samantha 7, but it was only at the Cat Club. We might have done another show at, there was a place in like Santa Monica that Happening Harry was his promoter. He had it Happening Harry's Hellhole. He used to run it at the Central. It was kind of like what Ricky Rackman did with the Cat House. He kind of did a version of that, And anyway, he's good friends with a lot of those guys. He was good friends with CC, and CC wasn't doing Poison at the time. And he's like, hey, do you want to play with CC and learn a Samantha 7 set? And we did about 7 or 8 songs at the Cat Club. And I think most of it's on video somewhere, but there's only a couple clips that are online on my YouTube channel.
So is this a one-time thing?
It was a one-time thing. Yeah, he never went out and toured. We just played the Cat Club, and we played, I think, one other place, I think called The Joint. So we did just a couple gigs. Okay. No rehearsal.
Was he fucked up then? Was he doing the coke?
I don't know what he was doing or if he was doing anything, but he certainly was in a different, he's wound up anyway, but I think he was in a different space than he is now, for sure. I think he might have been having nothing but a good time back in those days, but I didn't really interact with him. We didn't even, I don't believe we even rehearsed. And then the bass player, I want to say something Michaels, and he was in kind of a punk band, really nice guy, totally ripped. Really cool dude, but he's no longer with us. But I can't remember his first name, but it was the 3 of us. We did it as a 3-piece, and and it was fun. It was great.
So wait, was CC the singer then, or was
CC
the bass player?
Sang, yeah, CC sang, and because in Samantha 7 he was the singer.
That's right, because I know he did the song, the Poison song, "I Hate Every Bone in Your Body But Mine," which I think is it's one of the greatest song titles ever made.
Right? It's very clever. There's a fine line between clever and stupid, but no, it's great. It's a great line.
He's definitely a bucket list guest for me too. Like, and I don't see him doing any interviews, maybe even less than Axel. I've not seen him do an interview, maybe ever. Maybe there's a little bit in that Poison Behind the Music. They found some sort of clips of him, but I've not seen an interview with him. Definitely, I don't think he's ever done a podcast.
Yeah, well, I had a son on this year, Valen, and his son's a drummer, has a band called the Finns. And I had Valen on the show because I saw the single, and CC had shared it. And so Valen came on This, That, and the Other radio show. I do radio, by the way, on Wednesdays. And show replays.
Everyone should check it out.
And it's called This, That, and the Other at dirtyradio.fm. We got 2 channels there. I'm on channel 2, Dirty Radio Classics.
And isn't there, the rerun is on Saturdays? So
yeah, from 5 to 8 p.m. So Wednesdays live 2 to 5, and 5
I feel like you played our interview on one of the episodes too. Which is
for sure. Yeah, and usually I'll probably ask you if I can snag this, and I'll replay it. I'll repackage it and do it. First, probably for the first. Since we're kind of recapping and talking about comings and goings of 2024. But anyway, I had Valen on, and I get a call from Bruce. I think it's Johannesson, right? And I'm like, it's CC Deville. So I pick up the phone. This is just a couple months ago, and he's just like, and I don't want to try to do a CC Deville, but he's got that New York accent, and he's up there, and he's animated, and he's just,
hey, how you doing? Yeah, he's very loud.
He's great. I was like, if this is CC, because I talked to his son, and then CC listened to the airing of the show. And he asked his son, hey, give me Troy's number, because he had remembered that we had played together. And
Oh.
I believe I talked about it during the interview. Anyway, he called. We reminisced a little bit about the Cat Club days, and he kind of says, "Yeah, things were a little crazy then." That's all he said about it. But he had thanked me for having his son on, and he says, "Man, you asked some really good questions." And and I asked about how Cece, because Cece's like posting all this stuff about his son's band, and his son's like, "Oh yeah, he carries gear. He drives me to the gigs. It's like it's awesome. He's playing full on rockstar dad," and he goes and he's their biggest fan. And it was nice that Cece called me after we had the interview and said, "Hey, thank you for having him on. That was his first interview and he was really excited about it." But his son Valen was great, super well spoken, much better than I am, and really knowledgeable and intelligent. And he was not afraid to talk about his relationship with his dad, because obviously it's a very different relationship because they're both musicians, they're jamming. And I think Cece mixed and produced their demo or their album. It's an album, and they just released a new single the other day. They're called the Finns with a Z band. You can find them at the Finns band on Instagram. That's one of my top 5 interviews of the year for me, was Valen Deville.
Wow, that's amazing. I didn't realize you had interviewed his son. That's very cool. That reminds me back thinking about Pete, because his son Gavin is I can't remember. Is it just, I think his solo, it might just be Gavin Evick. I think that might be the name of their, but yeah, I saw them. They came to Phoenix. I think they were opening for Warrant at like a casino or something. And so they had an extra day. And so they just did this show in Arizona. And Pete told me, I was like, yeah, I'll go check them out. And they were really good and they're super young. Yeah. And it's cool to see that. It's cool to see younger kids doing rock music, because I mean, a lot of the younger kids are doing, being DJs and things like that, or they're not into music, or doing rap, or, music that we don't really connect with. But to see younger kids doing this kind of music and rock, especially some sort of melodic rock that's catchy, it's awesome to see. I mean, so speaking of 2024, have you seen a lot of new younger bands? Have you discovered anything that's that you want to let people know about?
I have, and I'm glad that you asked about that. One of the bands that, and I happen to see this over at our friend Stevie Rochelle over at Metal Sludge. I saw this on their site. There's a band called Stolen Prayer, and they're a bunch of 20-year-olds, and they're, they do on their YouTube page, they've been putting out good music and they've been doing a lot of covers, but now they're releasing original stuff, and it's great. And they're all young, and their cover versions, they do like a Poison tune, and they do they do like a Harry Styles song, but they're very 1985, man. They look like right out, but they're all in their 20s, and they're, living up the image as if it's happening now. It's great. They're awesome. So Stolen Prayer, check them out. They're good. And I'm trying to think of news. Oh, The Warning. That's a band. The 3. I don't know if they're sisters, but the all-female 3-piece band from Mexico City. The Warning. They're kick-ass.
Sounds familiar. Why have I heard of that?
They've been on Fallon or Kimmel, and
okay.
But it's great because not only are they from Mexico, because it's hard to break. They're doing rock and roll. Are they hot? Yeah, they all look great. And I think they're sisters. Yeah, and it's a 3-piece, and they kick ass. They've done. I
like that Latino look. It's something about that.
Yeah, well, you're right there. You're right.
Oh yeah, I'm googling it now, and not bad.
Oh yeah, and they're great.
Especially the blonde. Yeah.
Kick-ass band. I think that's the singer guitar player. They're all super great at their instruments, way better than I am. And so that's new, and I totally dig that. And Cassandra from Paralandra. Cassandra.
Oh, I love her. I had her on twice this year, actually. I think she was super nice.
Yeah, she's great. She was one of my top 5 favorite guests of 2024 as well on This, That, and the Other. And I'm digging Cassandra's Crossing. With the project with George Lynch. It's great. Like every song that comes out is great. And while listen, George is awesome, and you can hear, he's got it. It's all in the hands. You can hear he's the guy, right? But I mean, those songs and the vocal performance is all Cassandra Carson. I think you have another singer on that album, and it's an album that has George Lynch on guitar. You know what I mean? It's not great. It's like, well, George is on it. This is different because she is that much of a powerhouse, So Cassandra's Crossing, check that one out. That's a new young band. I mean, she's in other bands and does other things. Paralander's her main band. That's a band she's in with her dad.
Yeah, they came to Phoenix, and I couldn't go. I was sick for like a month, and I missed some stuff.
For a
I
month.
missed. Yeah.
For a month.
Boy. What?
How do you get sick for a month? What are
Well,
you doing?
I don't know. I don't want to gross people out, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't anything like life threatening, but
okay, well, that's good.
yeah, I was just like, it was frustrating, man. It was like, I was just like bedridden, not really bedridden, but like couch ridden, like, and then I didn't want to take any painkillers. It was painful, but I was like,
yeah,
all right, I'm gonna drink and do edibles.
Yeah, there you go.
I did edibles every day.
Yeah.
And by the last day, I was like, I can't do edibles ever. I don't think I can ever do it again. It's so, because I start having weird thoughts. Like, I think for some people, they could take like whatever, like 50 grams of THC and they're totally fine. I was doing like, like 0.025 like a millimeter of weed. And it's like, it's like just, that's like a lot for me. Like, I'm very weed sensitive. But yeah, it's like I missed some cool concerts. Like, what's the guy from Skillet? He was. I had him on my show. Super nice guy. Is it something? John Cooper? Is that his name?
It sounds familiar. I'm not. I've seen them. I've actually done festivals with them, but I don't know them. And their style of music is a little different. But when they put out something new, I spin it because it's cool stuff.
It's great, and he was super cool. He was on my show, and he said, "Yeah, if you're in town, come on backstage and say hi." I was like, "Oh, that's awesome!" Rad. And but I was too out of it to go. It sucks. So maybe if they come back again.
Band. They're a very big band.
Yeah, I was telling Pete about them, and yeah, he said they were really good too. They did some show with them, and they said he was blown away by like their stage, like how they have like a bunch. Because I think the guy comes out with like a flamethrower or something. Like it looks like they put on quite a show. I think that's as much a part of the music is like the look and the show that you put on. That's a big part of it. Like you can't just go out there in your sweatpants and like, throw a couple lights up in a fog machine and just call it good. Like you got to do, especially if you have the money, if it's a bigger show, you got to put on a show. You got to look the part. You got to do all those things.
Well, especially in this day and age, because with LED screens and graphics, and think about the graphics that you have at the Sphere. You don't even.
Yeah, that's
cool. It's really not even about the band. It's about the music and stuff, but it's about the experience and the visuals that come with that. But yeah, when you go out there, I mean, even if you get a couple scrims to cover your amp with your logo on it, or if you got a couple of those confetti pops or something that blows that like cold air, whatever that is, those whatever it is. But you got to add something because everybody's doing it. They want some visuals to go along with the big rock show. But then again, you get a band like King's X, dude. There's nothing up there, not even a backdrop sometimes.
But they sound right. They sound amazing, right?
They're awesome. They don't need flash bombs. They don't need a shirt cannon. They don't need bubbles. They're fucking King's X, I had
Doug Pinnick on my show twice, and one of my favorite guests.
You know what? Thank you. Bucket list. That's a bucket list.
Well, you haven't had him on?
No, I have not, and I haven't reached out to him. I suck.
You should, yeah.
I'm afraid he's going to say no. That's probably why I haven't.
No, he would do it.
You know who my other bucket list is? John Sykes.
Ooh, that'd be a good. He doesn't do a lot of interviews, or hasn't recently.
Do them anymore. He's not even doing music anymore. His son, you'll find some new John Sykes material. There's 2 songs on YouTube. His son put them up. Apparently there's an album in the can, or at least, a dozen songs, and his son, they mixed 2 of them and he put them up with some visualizers. But everybody's like, oh my God, John Sykes is back. And his son was in so many words, I'm just putting up some of my dad's music because he won't, So there's an album out there, but he's done. He's done, and he doesn't do interviews.
What is
he? Bucket list.
Okay, what does he do then?
He's got that White Snake money. That's my guess.
No, but I mean, you have that kind of talent.
I don't know.
He's one of. I mean, you could say, okay, he's not a top 5 guitarist of all time, but he's one of.
Well, hang on a second.
The top guitarists
in popularity, or because he is a great guitar.
Whatever. Like, I mean, he's one of the best. Like, he would kick a majority of people. I mean, he's one of the Mike Tyson of guitarists. Like, I mean, he's one of the best ever. Like, how do you just throw that gift away?
Right now on your show that John Sykes is gonna beat up Tracy Guns? Is that great?
Ooh, I would host a guitar duel like a la Crossroads with like Ralph Macchio and Steve Vai. I would host something like that between the 2 of them. That'd be fun.
Yeah, well, they're both bluesy.
I
But
love both. I love Tracy Guns. I've seen LA Guns, I don't even know how many times. And I just saw him recently, and Tracy Guns had the big beard and he killed it. He's amazing. I love him as a guitar player. I mean, I don't know
he's the
all
Paul
the other
Bunyan of
stuff.
guitars, man, for sure.
What's that?
I said he's the Paul Bunyan of guitars.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's still on Twitter or X. Like, I might have deleted it, but he was, trolling people and posting a bunch of stuff and complaining about things. Like, I don't care. I mean, to me, I just go, like, look at that stuff and go, it's whatever. I don't do whatever you want, but like, I like him as a guitar player. I don't care.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't get banned from, I mean, he won't do my show anyways. I've asked him several times. I've begged, and
he doesn't do a lot of stuff though. It seems like
they told me like, okay, he had an opening, but it was like, you get like, I don't know, it was like 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think I either already had an interview that day or I think I was going to be out of town. And so I was trying to think like, oh, could I do the interview like on the plane? Like I was like, no, I can't do a podcast on like the stewardess is coming over like, hey, would you like a drink? And I'm trying to do like an interview with Tracy. I mean, yeah, I was like, no, I'll pass.
That would be amazing. Actually, I think that should be your new angle. You fly somewhere, anywhere in the country, and then you interview people while you're on the plane. Maybe they're with you sometimes. Otherwise, you just do it.
Yeah, I don't like the distractions with something like that. Like a first time guest, like, well, even the first time I interviewed you was actually in person, which is one of the rare in-person interviews I did. And that was really fun. We had the dressing room and like, you were telling me some great stories, and I like to do one-on-one, no distractions. And that now that I know you now, we've talked a bunch. So now we can do like a live stream and we can have comments and stuff. And oh, Jackie's saying hi. I like Jackie.
Hey, Jackie. Oh yeah. Look at that.
You know Jackie?
I do know Jackie.
Yeah. She is so nice. She always likes all my stuff on Instagram, and one of the few people that, so I like her, I support her. She's really into like Alice Cooper, I think. And what's the guys, Ryan Roxy, and what's the other guitar, the other guitar player, I'm spacing on his name. I've interviewed him, and
Tommy Henriksen.
Tommy. Yeah. She was always posting something about Tommy and Ryan. And wait, you played with Ryan Roxy, right? Or no?
Yeah. He plays in a band that I have called Lost Angels.
Yes.
LostAngelsLive.com. Yeah. And Ryan is typically the guy when we're overseas, like in Scandinavia, UK, because he for a long time was living there. He's no longer living there now. So unless we book some shows in South Africa, I don't know when I'm going to play with Ryan again.
Okay. Because like my buddy Adika played with Ryan in, I think, Dad's Porno Mag.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so Ryan was like in these kind of like indie bands before he broke out with Alice Cooper, which is really cool.
Yeah, well, he was also a member of Snake Pit and in Gilby's band as well.
Was he in Snake Pit? Okay.
Yeah.
Did he play on one of the albums?
I want to say the second album.
Okay. I know he played on Gilby's debut, but not like, I mean, Gilby had like a variety of musicians on that first one, but
and he put out the Gospel Truth in, I want to say late 21. And that's kind of the same thing. He's got like, Stephen Perkins on it. Nikki Sixx plays on it. Kenny Aronoff and guys like Sean McNabb, and then his typical bass player that does the road stuff, EJ Kurse from Silent Rage, and then I played on a track, Matt Starr from Ace Frehley, and Mr. Big filled in.
What is the Gilby album that Adika played on? It was like I think it was a live one, and it was with Tracy Guns. Wait, was it Eric Singer?
It was probably Eric Singer, because Eric.
That is so crazy.
Yeah, they used to do those dates together. So I mean, it was a killer lineup. They would play that same sort of lineup at the Cat Club. I mean, a lot of those lineups and those bands with the Roxys and the Eric Dovers and Gilbys and all that crew, a lot of that stuff would, Corabi, they would get all, because John played, they would do shows together because, Adler, all of it came from the Cat Club. It all really kind of, those relationships kind of spawned from there. And, maybe they had these relationships prior, but when it came together and they were jamming on Thursdays, doing the Starfuckers at the Cat Club, which was owned by Slim Jim Phantom from the Stray Cats, right next to the Whiskey. These Muddy, these lineups. Hey, I got to go to South America, and they get guys like Eric Singer and Stefan or Muddy or whatever, Corabi, whoever, Bruce Kulick. All this stuff came out of Cat Club.
So what years were you in LA from when until when? I know you're in Vegas now or on the outskirts, but
Yeah, I moved in 1992. I graduated in 1991.
That's right. Okay.
And then in the fall, and then
it was like right on the tail end
April.
of the hair metal stuff.
Yeah, I got, better, nothing like getting to the restaurant when they're closing, but, hey man, I had a good time. And then in 2014, I moved to Las Vegas.
So, okay. So you were there for a lot of this shit. Cause like Adika tells me stories all the time too. It's like the same, you guys were in that same realm of like, there was still stuff going on. It just wasn't as big as the 80s, but there was still a rock scene. And like Steel Panther kind of started it back up when they started doing shows at the Key Club or whatever. And right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Key Club. Then they moved down to the Roxy, and then they moved from the Roxy to the House of Blues. And that's when they really kind of started doing a lot of business when they got into House of Blues. And at that point, they kind of became international by way of people coming from all over the place to see them at the House of Blues. They wouldn't necessarily go see them at the Roxy, smaller club, but House of Blues is a household name. And when they started doing the residency there, I think it was soon after they got their deal with, I think, Universal.
Are you talking about the House of Blues in LA? Because I used to see them at the House of Blues in Vegas.
Yeah,
they started there too.
Yeah, because they were able to start a thing, but it all, I think when they went, even though they were on the Strip, they were still very much a local band. They were LA's, metal shop, and then they became Metal School when they left Perfect World Entertainment. Jamie Brown, that's a great band from the 80s actually, but in the last couple of years they put out some great albums called Roxanne. Jamie Brown, the owner of Perfect World, is the company that has metal shops all around the USA of all these bands doing each genre. They have a Boogie Nights, Disco Fever, whatever, they've got pop rock bands, all genres. And then he has them all over the country. So there's, any night of the week, he's got bands playing somewhere in America. But he, Metal Shop, which became Metal School, which became Steel Panther, they originated doing that whole shtick down there at, on the Strip. So
yeah. Do you think so? You have kind of taken.
They started at the Viper Room. Actually, the Viper Room was the first room they were doing it at, and then they went from there.
And you kind of do some of that stuff too. That like in terms of the management and things and setting up dates and stuff. Like you've kind of gotten into that side of the business a little bit, right?
Yeah. I'd like to think I can do that stuff, and people have a good experience with it. But yeah, a band like Lost Angels, we're on a roster. We're on with Artists Worldwide. I'm not sure which one, because we're on both websites, but that goes back to earlier conversation about the agency that I was working for. But, I got to call and work out a lot of those logistics, because it's just not big enough money, for a small band that goes out. It's a novelty act that goes out, every few years. We just did a show. I think in this last year, we did a show in Mexico. In fact, it was this last year. We went to Mexico. I had Stacey Blades on guitar, Sean McNabb on bass, and Eric Dover and myself. And we played a big baseball game parking lot, 5,000.
So Corabi wasn't in this version?
No, John was out with Dead Daisies.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if somebody wanted to hire Lost Angels for a festival or to come to their town, they could still put in a request and.
Yeah, they can go to lostangelslive.com and reach right out to me. And I do, 99% of all the business. And even though we're on an agency's roster, we haven't done anything with them yet. But it's a tough act to book, because it's not something that's constant. Somebody's got to call and have an offer that makes sense. And then I got to round up the guys to do it.
And what songs do you play? Originals, or is it covers, or songs from your bands you've been in? Or
that's it. It's all covers. So when Corabi's in the band, we'll do Dead Daisies and Motley and the Scream and Union. Sean McNabb, we can do Dokken, Great White. Eric Dover, we can do Alice Cooper / the Snake Pit. We do Jellyfish, and we also do the other band he was in. Why can't I think of it? What was the other band he was in? Jellyfish. The
one that he's in now, the one that's
No, yeah, that's a great band. But why can't I think of?
He was in Snake Pit. Are you talking about that? Or?
No. It was a band after. Oh my God, I wish I had my Alexa in here. It was a band after. God damn.
After Jellyfish.
Yeah, after Jellyfish.
Okay, he was in. Let's see. I'm looking it up right now. He was. Oh wait, does it say he was the Licorice Quartet? That's the one I'm thinking. That's the most recent.
That's now. No,
Imperial Drag.
Imperial Drag. God darn it for me not remembering that. Yeah, we'll do Are You a Boy or a Girl? And then, you know, when Ryan's in the band, we'll do some stuff that he's covered, like he's covered Cheap Trick. We also do The Sweet, you know. So we do a bunch of stuff. Yeah, Jackie, definitely we could do trivia with you and you'd win. But
I know, right?
yeah, but you know, yeah, whoever's in the band, we work in
That's
music from
awesome.
everybody, and then we do some covers that we totally dig, you know.
That sounds like a fun show. I would see that if it came to Arizona.
It's a great show, and it's like loose. We're not up there putting on like 75 minutes. You know, there's a lot of banter and talk, and you know, oh, we played, you know, whatever. I wrote this song with so and so. Maybe have a laugh about it, and then we play it. So it's a fun gig of rock and roll. We've been to Mexico. We've been to India. We've been to Europe, the UK, Scandinavia. We've been everywhere.
Dude, Corabi is, well, I love Eric Dover too, but like him and Corabi is so, I've never seen Eric Dover live, but I saw Corabi recently. I don't know, it was a couple of years ago, but he did an acoustic show and it was a story. He was doing the storyteller. I've seen it twice now, but I saw it just recently a couple of years ago. And his voice still sounds amazing. He's got that like Steven Tyler voice where he can still hit all the notes. And I don't know that that's ever going away. He's one of those freakish guys, in my opinion.
Oh, 100%. We did a show with him back in February in LA with the Dead Daisies. And I was just blown away at how much power he still has, you know, and what he's hitting. But he's moving a lot of air, you know, through those pipes to get that power and get that rasp, you know. So yeah, John's got a great voice. He can sing anything, you know. But Eric Dover has a different great voice in a completely different way. And Eric can play or do anything. He'll mime it's crazy.
Well,
he's one of those left brain guys.
Yeah, Eric. To me, I love Eric too, and but I think even better than his voice is his songwriting. I think he's such a talented songwriter because you listen to Jellyfish, and then even this latest thing, the Licorice Quartet. I mean, I sent it to my dad. I was like, my dad's a big Beatles fan. I was like, I think you might like this. Like, this is really good. It's very melodic, and it's like ear candy. Like, it just sounds good. I don't know how I guess there's some people that don't like things that are too, like, I remember like in high school having this conversation with somebody and playing some like amazing like guitar that was like, and then the guy was like, this is too perfect. I was like, how can something be too perfect? That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you know, but some people like that, like music with a little bit more like a Bob Dylan, I guess, off key kind of, you know, a little bit more rust on it, I guess. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the more organic stuff. I don't like, you know, some of the new stuff coming out. You know, everything's quantized and, you know, the drums are perfect and right on the, you know, when say you had a ruler, you know, right on the millimeter, you know, where I think sometimes something should be within a quarter of an inch of where it should be, you know, because that's how music feels. But
well, that's true.
There are some bands that require that rigidity, you know.
I guess that's true. I guess something could be too perfect. Yeah, because that's what's funny is like people talk about, I think we probably talked about this before about one of my favorite drummers is Steven Adler. I think he's amazing on that first Guns N' Roses album. There's something there that just the way the drums sound with the cowbell and everything, that somebody called it a swing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like his drums. Nothing against Matt Sorum. I think Matt Sorum is an amazing drummer, but there's something that Adler brought that made the drums sound just, it fit better with the band. In my opinion, I think Storm's got too much, what do you call it? Like timpani drum or something. It's too much like boom, boom, boom. And I feel like Adler's a little more high. And
I also think the production, though, Guns N' Roses production evolved when Matt was in the band. They kind of, you know, and I'm
they got a freaking full orchestra on November Rain, right?
Yeah, there you go. You know, and didn't they have something on one of the Terminators? Didn't they have something on soundtrack back then or no?
Oh, I fucking love that song. Yeah, You Could Be Mine.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? My favorite Guns N' Roses song, actually.
Yeah, I mean, even though that is, you know, GNR, you know, they evolved from those five guys in the warehouse or whatever, playing those tunes every day and then going out and playing the clubs. You know, GNR, you know, they added singers, you know, piano, whatever. You know, I think the band became a very different band. So the production changed. So I can see why Matt's drums sounding the way they do is very different than Adler's, but I think that's more of a byproduct of the time and what Axl was trying to do, you know, because he's kind of a visionary, maybe in his own mind, I don't know, but he's really kind of a visionary on what he wants to do with that band. You know, and obviously use your illusion. I mean, the spaghetti incident. I mean, how rando was that? You know, just it's got interesting ideas for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's part of like people talk about the Illusion albums and they diss it or whatever, but like I like one of the Brando from Appetite for Distortion podcast. I had him on. We talked about this and just how the Illusion is like it's part of the journey. You know, it's like this whole there's all this other stuff going on. I like it because like, if you're really a diehard fan of something, like you love almost like everything they do, you know, and so I like that there's something different. Like you could have made Appetite Part 2 for sure. Like if you just put together some of the songs like Right Next Door to Hell, Perfect Crime, You Could Be Mine, like that could have been Appetite Part 2.
Yeah.
And that would have been a pretty cool album, but it is kind of fun that they did the whole Use Your Illusions and had all those other, I don't know. I mean, commercially would have been better to just do an Appetite Part 2 and then maybe put some of those songs out as like a bootleg or something. I don't know.
I don't know. I always heard the rumors that he kind of, you know, had this all planned out the way it's turned out, you know, but I don't know. I guess if things go a little weird, people are like, well, that's kind of where you go. Don't worry. This is how I planned it out. I mean, you know, so maybe he's saying it for those reasons, but no, I think he had this vision that the next album was going to be a double album, much bigger production, bigger everything. And they weren't going to be those 5 guys getting off the bus on Hollywood Boulevard anymore, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'll ask him when I have him on my show. So
you better.
Yeah. All right. Jackie's asking you, what is your favorite song to play live? That is a great question.
You know, sometimes there are songs that are fun to play because the songs are great, you know? So,
like the energy from the crowd, it like, doesn't that energize you? If everyone's rocking out.
Yeah. And sometimes the songs that aren't, you know, drum wise fun or interesting where you can kind of, you don't even have to think or worry about what you're doing. You can totally just tune out of what you're doing and take in what's going on around you. So those songs are fun to play. And that could be any song, you know, anything that's super easy where you're able to tune out of the instrument and then just embrace the crowd and your other guys on the stage. You know, some songs you gotta think about. So you're talking to the drums the whole time and really focusing on the music. And, you know, you wouldn't know if there's nobody out in the club or if there was 10,000 people, you know, because you're so fixated. But some of the more fun songs to play when Corabi's doing Lost Angels and when I did that tour with them in 2010, I mean, playing those tunes off the Motley 94 album, I mean, that is the quintessential Tommy Lee album right there. It's his best performance. It's the best production. It's crazy. It's totally crazy.
Wait, so you played, you're saying with the Lost Angels, you did the Corabi?
Or if we do Hooligans Holiday. And
love that fucking song. I just remember reading about that. I was talking about this the other day, reading in Metal Edge about those song titles before the song came out and reading this. There was a song called Hooligans Holiday. And I was like, that is the coolest fucking song title I've ever heard in my 15-year-old brain. I was like, that is fucking amazing. And it's a pretty fucking good song, but the song title it built it up so much for me. I was like, this is such a great title.
You didn't know what it was, you know?
It sounds amazing. Yeah. Oh, this is a great question. Is the groupie scene dead? I'm going to say, you know more than me, but I'm going to say no, because I see women that are dressed like they are ready to be a groupie at these, like at a Pretty Boy Floyd or Faster Pussycat. You'll see women that they're ready to go. They're ready to group it up or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm married now and happily, and we have our 5th anniversary coming up in February. So these days for me, like when we're done, unless I have any other obligations, I like we're done. I pack up my little whatever. I say my goodbyes. I grab a couple Coors Lights and maybe grab a little sandwich off and I go back to the hotel. You know, I don't really do a lot of hanging out anymore. So I don't see it, but most of the guys I play with, we're all married dudes, you know? And so, yeah, while there are people there, you know, you see somebody that maybe seems like they're putting on a vibe. I don't know what the vibe is, but you know, they might be, you know, looking at, you know, but then again, sometimes it's just, they're just engaged and they're just having a good time and they want to try and have some sort of connection with you, but not necessarily back to your hotel room, you know, but everybody I play with is married now. So we're, you know, talking about our fantasy football teams or talking about our dogs or kids.
But before you were married, before you met your wife and fell in love, like, was there women that wanted to meet you and wanted to go back?
The only girl I've ever, no. No. I mean, of course, yeah. There's people that you meet, and then if you play a certain city and you go back and back and back, you start like knowing some of the people on a personal level, and sometimes maybe that back in the day would turn into something or whatever. But for the most part, it was just pretty much just friendships. But
Like
I
you
guess
didn't
it
get,
depends on what show you're hanging out at.
did you get hit on, or do you still get hit on by
I have,
women that are attracted to you because you're playing in a rock band and you look the
yeah,
part, you got long hair, and I mean you got the
I think
tattoos.
I think part of it is when I'm done, I'm out. When I'm playing, I'm playing. So I don't even really have the opportunity for the interaction. But I don't
So
think
you're not out there with a drumstick and pointing it at the
no,
girl and giving it to the bounce, or the
not
security guard that
unless
poison was like, they did a special
yeah,
signal. They threw their drumstick at the girl they wanted to sleep with later that night or whatever.
give her a black eye. Yeah, that's the one. No, I never had security go pull trim from the audience, as Chips Enough might say. That didn't happen really for me. I typically would meet people, if we went to the merch booth or they were
Yeah.
friends of friends and ended up backstage, and you see them a few times, then then you guys befriend one another. But no, the heyday of the stories of the Poisons and the Motleys and the Warrants, I didn't really experience all that on the level that they did.
Yeah, I mean, times have changed though. Like, I mean, you see these you see all these teachers that are sleeping with their students. That's what I'm always so fascinated about. I'm like, where were these teachers when I was a kid? My teachers looked like grandmas, and like, they had the mom jeans, and like there was no teacher that I was like, "Ooh, she's really."
Well, the funny thing is, they were probably in their 40s back then, though. But
but that looked old to us when we were
yeah,
like 15. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you
But
got another question here from this is a great question. Did you enjoy playing with Jani Lane, and what is your best memory from that time? Because I'm a huge Jani Lane fan, so I'm curious about this
no,
myself.
I love playing with Jani. I wish I'd played with them more shows. I think we just did a handful of shows. Jani was in a real bad spot. This is '06. He was in just a real bad place. I think we canceled more shows than we actually played because we would show up. The band all flew from various. We had a guy in.
Who was in the band at that time?
It was Dario Lorena, who's now in Black Label Society.
Wow.
Dario. Yeah. He was 17 when he was playing with Jani.
Wow.
And then this bass player, Chad McDonald, who's played with like Gene Loves Jezebel. He was in Jani's band on bass, and he's actually the one that got me the audition, and that was Jani. But we canceled more dates. We would all fly into the airport, and then Jani was supposed to be coming from wherever, and he would see his luggage go on the carousel, and then you're looking around like, wow, okay, and then people start thinning out, and the three band guys are still waiting. Jani's luggage is going around the carousel, and then you get the phone call. Yeah, Jani didn't make it. Bring his bag back home. So that happened just as much, if not more, than.
So then you just have to eat the money, like, or does he have to pay you anyway?
They did. They paid us anyway. Okay. They were actually very gracious. They would get us, hey, go get a hotel. I'll get you on the next flight out tomorrow. You guys fly back, and we would get paid if there were 2 shows or 3 shows that canceled. We got paid for them all.
So that comes out of Jani's pocket then, or
comes out of his pocket? Yeah, he just was in they were trying to put him out there to, I don't know. Sometimes it's like, well, if he's in such bad shape, why are people getting him out there? And we see that today, people that are in bad physical shape, not doing well. And, you're like, God, the band's a bunch of, what about their agents shoving these people out there? Why are they doing it? Like, who's the old dude that sings Sherry, the dude that's out there, he's like 90 and he's totally lip syncing. Who sings Sherry Baby Tonight?
Is it Frankie Valli? No.
Yeah, Frankie Valli.
Okay.
I don't know why I can't remember anything. I got all these references, but yeah,
I'm surprised I remember that.
Why are they shoving this guy out there? Because he's blatantly, have you seen the videos? He's blatantly lip syncing.
But I believe it. Yeah.
Oh, you have to see them. It's
well, and how much? I guess my question is, how much money are they making? Like, is this worth ruining a man's life over? Like, I know Jani Lane in 2006 and 7 and 2008 or 10 or whenever he passed those last few years, he was not filling arenas and stuff. So like, how much money are you getting to exploit this guy for a few $100s a night, maybe, or something? I mean, it's kind of like ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't know if it's like a catch-22 where some of these guys, if they're not out on the road, then it's actually worse. But if they're out on the road and they've got a purpose and they've got gigs and responsibilities, unfortunately, in the case of Jani and my time with him, it just never worked out that way. But we had a couple great gigs. There's a video. I have a DVD. Somehow I've never been able to open it up, but I have a video of us doing Machine Gun with Dario on guitar.
Oh, I fucking love that song.
Yeah, and it's awesome. It's I mean, I love Jani, and he's a drummer who became a singer, and I loved the Warrant songs. I still do. And
I love every Warrant song, even the deep cuts, even the songs that didn't make the album, like pop music. I think that's one of the most brilliant, awesome songs. And I guess some of the band's members don't like it, but I found that recently a couple of years ago, and I was like, this song is so great. Why didn't they put this on an album? And yeah,
there's a lot of unreleased stuff, and there's the Jabberwocky demos and stuff that Jani did, some of it on acoustic, and then they had Angel City Outlaws with Blotzer, but he had some other projects that were happening, and some of the songs were cross-pollinated. They would be in one project and then they'd bring it over to the new product or project. But I'm a huge fan of Jani. That was my band. A lot of people had Motley. I saw Kiss 5 times, but Kiss really wasn't my band. But I loved Warrant, and that was like kind of my band. So to play with them,
that's so cool. Like, I didn't know that.
Really is awesome.
I didn't know you're that big of a Warrant. I love Warrant. They're definitely like top 5 for me. Like, I used to have the poster behind my wall. I should probably put that back up. I love it. I've got the Cherry Pie poster, and I've got a Dirty Rotten Scout. I think one of them or both of them are autographed too. It's
right on.
I've seen them multiple times. Yeah, I never saw him with Jani. The first time I saw him, they never came to Seattle because I lived in Seattle, and I missed that boat. They came one time, but I wasn't 21. And then they came to Idaho with it wasn't Robert Mason, but what was the other singer they had that used to be in Black and Blue?
They had Jamie St. James.
Yeah, they had him, and I drove to Idaho, and it was Warrant with Jamie St. James, LA Guns, which I don't think they had Tracy Guns. I think it was Stacey Blades, and Firehouse. And it was a fucking amazing concert. One of the coolest concerts. I drove all the way to Idaho for it. It was really fun. And to me, again, it goes back to what we were talking earlier about, this original member, whatever. Like, I don't care. I want to hear those songs.
Yeah.
And so either going to see Warrant or a Warrant tribute band, which I don't know if there's any Warrant tribute band. So yeah, I'm seeing Warrant. It's not with Jani Lane. But they got like 3 or 4 of the original members.
They're 4/5 original. Yeah. On occasion, Jerry Dixon sat out, and I don't know if he was just stepping aside for a little bit, but that would be Robbie Crane would fill in for him.
Yeah,
but
Robbie Crane.
There's still those 4 guys, and Jani passed away. So what does the music end with him? And what's the best way to honor him is to go out and play his songs and get somebody new. I mean, it's like Skid Row. They're such a big identity with Sebastian Bach, but what are they going to do when somebody quits or leaves, or, they just continue on and just get somebody else that wants to do the job? I mean, should those songs just end because somebody doesn't want to do the gig anymore? In every line of work, when somebody quits a job, you put out an ad and you get somebody else to do it, whether it's, collecting grocery carts or stacking wood or whatever it is. If somebody doesn't want to do it, they'll find somebody else that does. And I think those songs should still continue to be played.
Yeah. Skylar also had a question here. I'm assuming he's asking you, are you friends with Steve? But I consider myself a friend of Stevie. I saw them. They came to Phoenix, and I said hello to him. He's done my show. He's a nice guy. We message each other occasionally.
I'm going to say it right here, right now. Yeah. Fuck Stevie Rochelle is what I'm saying from metalsludge.tv. No, I communicate with Stevie quite a bit. We are avid high-speed pursuit watchers. And, we share the same TMZ stories to one another about whatever, No, he and I are in touch. In touch quite a bit. And, Stevie's a good guy. He's got a good little empire with the Metal Sludge and the swag. And he's been doing a lot more, tough dates and going out and singing with a lot of people. He's been to Australia, Thailand, he's going all over the place. So he's the Philippines, I think. So he's staying very busy, and some people have a problem with him because, of his website. Some people say this isn't true. This is made up, because he was the first one to break it and they just can't believe it happened. And then, I don't think I've ever seen him in the history retract anything because it wasn't true.
No, I think people don't like some of the opinions, and, he'll make fun of stuff. But to me, that's like, I mean, that's part of the gig. Like, people are going to make fun of you if you're doing shit. And there's only been a handful of times where he's posted stuff where I've been like, okay, like, you shouldn't make fun of that. But I think most of the time, I think it's funny. I think he has funny headlines, and I think it's interesting stories. And like you said, I think he breaks some of the stuff before some of the other people. Sometimes he's the first person on the to break the stories.
He's broke a lot of stories, stuff that got picked up by TMZ and you see Blabbermouth sharing a lot of the stories, and sometimes the news sucks, and it's shitty news, and it's like, but if I don't post it, 10 other websites are going to do it. So why can't I post it?
I feel like he's always been respectful. Like, if someone dies or something, he's never like, oh, this guy's in the coffin, or he never like says anything he doesn't like that crazy. Like, he'll make fun of things, but I don't think, to me, he usually doesn't cross a line. But for some people, it's like 50% of the time or more, he's crossing a line. And I also think that's just,
we live in a world where people are so sensitive and nobody wants to be offended. And if you don't agree with something, then you're offended. It's like, no, I just don't agree with it. Or if
exactly,
if the website is so shameful, and you go, what, that guy's just kind of a dick, and I think he doesn't have any taste, I'm not going to check his website anymore. I mean, that's all you do, but you don't just go, well, I disagree with it, so you shouldn't do that. And you should be canceled now. And that's not the way it works. It just
I agree. It's like
now where everybody's so pussified. If something offends them, then that has to be shut down. I mean, could you imagine living in a world like that where only one opinion is going to be the one that matters? And how boring would that be if we just did everything one way, because somebody didn't want to be offended? You choose to be offended. You know what I mean? So
it's like we're saying earlier about Sebastian Bach. I'm like, half of the stuff he posts, I'm like, I just kind of roll my eyes and I go, whatever, Sebastian, like, he's mad about this or mad, but like, I still like, I love his music. So I'm not even gonna unfollow him, because I kind of like seeing the train wreck.
Yeah. He's a very emotional guy for sure. And he's very passionate about his beliefs, to a fault, possibly. Cause I think if anything, he causes himself more turmoil, being way more invested than he needs to be when there's just something you can't change, or something went a different way. You see a lot of it with some of these guys, not just Sebastian, but actors and musicians, politics, something, we got two choices. Things go one way, things go the other way. Not everybody's going to be happy, but then the war and the raging that goes on, and the psychosis, it's like, what is this all about? You know what I mean? And so I think a lot of these people invest way too much into things that they just disagree with, and it's like, that comes to Metal Sludge, or, if I say something about somebody on my radio show that, hey, that was a little insensitive, or that was a little tasteless, or whatever. It's like, yeah, but you know what? That's what I was feeling. The other 3 people that listen, they thought it was spot on. So, it just depends on your perspective.
Yeah. I mean, what do you respect more? Someone who lies and just says everything nice and positive all the time, versus someone who just tells their true feelings and their true opinions. Like, I think that's why I'm actually from the West Coast. I grew up in Seattle, but I love people from the East Coast. Like our mutual friend Adika. Like, I love him. Like, he's so fucking funny. He was saying in the day, like, he was commenting on one of the live streams, and he goes, and it came out of nowhere. And he's like, Steve Stevens looks like a New Jersey Goodfellas housewife. And
yeah.
And it was just funny to me. I was like, I don't know why this, like, he just says crazy shit. And I like that. I like the East Coast, like, attitude where you just kind of say what you think and feel and bust balls. And I like that shit more than like oh no, everything is great. I love everything. This is a good song. And this is good. And it's like, what? Like, no, not all music is good. Not every movie is good. Like, not every sports team is good. Like, even my own sports teams that I love, I'm like, my Seahawks, I'm like, they just shit the bed the other night against the Packers. Like, we got to speak the truth. We can't just lie to ourselves.
Yeah, it's okay.
Respects honesty. Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. I see somebody about Skylar was saying Skid Row and Sebastian.
Oh, yeah, Skid Row. I would love to see that.
Yeah, but it's the worst thing they could do, in my opinion, because at the end of the day,
not financially.
But listen though, at the end of the day, so how long have they been trying to replace Sebastian Bach?
Well, since like 98 or something, 97, something
and
like that.
Unfortunately, even though, I mean, it took a who's the chick from Hailstorm? Lizzie Hale, right?
Yeah.
It took Lizzie Hale to finally have people go, wow, Sebastian who? Like, but she can't do it full time
No.
because, all the other singers, Eric Grunwald, I think he was the best replacement that they've had,
I love that album they made with him.
Yeah,
too. It's really good.
it's great, and I think he was the best replacement, but for whatever reason, he's not, going to tour with them. They said it was health related, but he's going out on tour with Michael Schenker in Europe. So, maybe it's easier to manage stuff over there. I don't know. I always thought it was weird that he was leaving the band and he left those 4 shows that they needed Lizzie for. Like he just left them out in the open, like, because it didn't seem like he was having, not that we were aware of, any immediate health issues. I think just the toll of going back and forth. But I'm surprised they didn't, because they were the last shows of the year. And I'm surprised he just didn't obligate himself to those last 4. I kind of think, and those guys have said in recent happenings, like, hey, I thought Eric left for health reasons and didn't want to tour, but he's announcing a tour with Michael Schenker and he just sang on the album and all this stuff. And those guys are like, yeah, we don't know what that's about. So I think they're a little blindsided that he's out working as much, but back to Sebastian and Skid Row, still trying to replace him after all these years. I mean, they put out great albums and stuff, but the worst thing they could do is to get him back in the band. So then they have to replace him again. Sebastian is his own brand. He's, he's on the TV shows, The Masked Singer and, Golden Girls and Broadway, he's his own guy. They, I think in some ways might need him more than he needs them. Although he wants to be in that band so bad because they won't let him. I think it's all about that. But, when things go south again and they, then he'll leave the band. Sebastian will be Sebastian Bach like he is now, putting out great solo material. And Skid Row will be sitting in their rehearsal room going, okay, well, now who do we replace him with? Now that they were reminded how good Sebastian is, you know what I mean? So the worst thing they could do is get Sebastian Bach in the band because it'll fail and they'll be worse off than they are now.
I don't know if it'll be worse off. I think they'll be back at square one.
No, because they're going to have to fill those shoes again. The guy is back. Sebastian's back. And now they got to replace Sebastian Bach all over again in 2026.
But maybe they can make enough of a bump of money for those few months or weeks or whatever with Sebastian that then it wouldn't. They can be comfortable for a few years.
They've always said that they don't want to do it for the money. They'd rather be happy than make all that money. And I think they get maybe some decent mailbox money. I don't know. I think Sabo's in the music industry though. He's like an agent or a manager for a couple bands. So,
that makes sense. Yeah. Cause I know he played, I think he was like managing Anthrax or something. Cause he played with Anthrax for a while. Cause like one of the guitar players was sick or something. And Sabo filled in for Anthrax, which is
weird. Yeah, that was like recent, wasn't it? In the last some odd years. Scotty Hill's an underrated guitar. I love Scotty Hill. Yeah, Scotty Hill is a freak. He's great, and you see he's got a lot of personality. When he doesn't say much and he doesn't do a lot of interviews, but he says it.
I would love to have him.
Have you ever interviewed him? I have not, but I've seen him do some. In the recent happenings with Eric leaving the band, I believe he did do one interview and kind of addressed it, but yeah, he says everything he needs to say with his guitar. He's a great performer too.
Yeah, I've had Snake and I've had Rachel on, and those were bucket list interviews, and it was amazing because I love Skid Row is my number 1 favorite band in high school. I had posters of them, and I love Sebastian was my idol. I wanted to like be him. I just thought he was so cool, like watching the videos and how he joked around with everybody, and he was like beloved. But I just thought those were bucket list interviews. I mean, I think I did really good job because I mean, I knew everything about the band. I was talking about like deep cuts and stuff. And Rachel, he liked the interview enough that he actually shared it, which is very rare for someone of that caliber, in my opinion, in my experience.
Yeah, they don't always do that. Well, I think it helps that you do, a lot of research and you talk about stuff that, you're not like, hey, so how come you're not getting Sebastian back in the band? It's you're talking about,
I mean, I get
guys demoed.
It's so cringy when people ask that because they always ask like they're going to get a different response. It's like, dude, they've said this multiple times. They have no interest in that. Like, if they do, I'm sure that we'll all be the first to know. Like they're not just going to drop it in some random podcast interview.
Exactly. But it's maybe to get you poke the bear a little bit. Maybe you get a headline or something, maybe something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because they're so sick of answering the question.
Well, that's why I'm surprised they don't have their publicists just say no questions about Sebastian. Like I don't think that would be unreasonable. Like, I mean, if you interview Great White, they're going to say no questions about the fire. Like, and you're like, yeah, it probably makes sense. Like, you don't need more headlines about the fire. It doesn't help your band.
What else can you see? Yeah. What else? Well, it doesn't help anybody anymore.
Yeah.
Really.
It doesn't really help you to get a headline about Sebastian if you want to move on from him.
Yeah.
Or is it just any press is good press, and so they just want their band's headline at Blabbermouth, because it will get you a headline on Blabbermouth if you talk about Sebastian.
Yeah, of course.
Rob would be a good interview. I think I've tried to reach out to him a couple times, but I think it's always timing. Like, he had always just done someone else's show. So,
gotcha.
See, someone else had a question. Have you ever been starstruck by someone that you played with?
Oh. Yeah, Robin Zander in Florida, St. Pete, Florida, with Gilby Clarke. Sean McNabb was on bass. We were playing at the St. Pete Theater, and he lives down there. Robin Zander, singer of Cheap Trick, lives down in Florida in St. Pete. We had lunch, or like a lunch dinner with the family, and then he had a couple of cocktails and came up and did Dead Flowers with us on stage. And I'm playing Dead Flowers. I'm like, that's the guy. That's the guy from Cheap Trick, which is a Chicago band. And I grew up in the Chicago area, so Cheap Trick was really massive in our region. And so to play with him, that was definitely a starstruck experience for sure.
Oh, that's really cool. I don't know if I knew about that one. That's awesome.
Yeah, and there's a video of it. I believe I might have it on my YouTube channel. I think I did put it up there. And then, speaking of, somebody had mentioned Rob Affuso. So we do in Gilby's set Dead Flowers, because Gilby re-recorded it, and Rob Affuso played drums. And
that's right.
And Axl Rose sang on that track as well.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good point. And Rob played on Duff McKagan's solo album as well. I don't think the same track, but also Sebastian Bach is on that album. Lenny Kravitz, like, that was one of my favorite albums, that Duff McKagan solo album. There were some good tunes on that when I was a kid. I liked listening to that. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it all comes full circle. Exactly. So what else is new with you? You got any other stories or things from 2024 you want to bring up?
Nothing really. It's been a pretty mellow year, which is good, outside of the chaos of, things that just happen in our country on a day-to-day basis. We've got, Corey Feldman running around wild, singing, playing with Limp Bizkit. We've got drones all over the 50 US states. I mean, it's crazy, so, that's the craziest stuff. Not a lot of stories. No news is good news. I'm trying to think if there's anything tragic that has happened, but or funny, but it's been pretty, outside of just good times with the people you play with, it's been pretty even keel. And I'll take that too. I don't always have to do it for the stories,
Yeah. Are you mostly is it mostly Gilby that you're kind of focused with? Is that kind of what pays the bills these days, or is it more like the managing and just like a variety of things?
A little bit of everything, but we were busy this year. Gilby was very busy. We probably did more dates than in the 12 plus years I've been playing with them. More dates this year than almost any year. We've been all over. We went to South America twice. We did 2 shows with Slash featuring Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators. We did 2 arena dates with them out there, and then we went back again to Colombia back in August. We've been down to Mexico. We did dates in the States, and so it's been real busy. I'm not sure what his next year is looking like. He's got a couple dates coming up in January, February. I'm not going to be doing them. He's doing something a little different. He's not doing like a full solo thing. He's going to be working in some covers and playing a little bit more bluesier stuff. So he's playing with some different guys for some upcoming dates in January and February, I think in LA, and then one in Vegas. So there's that. And, I played with Cheap Thrill with Brandon Gibbs and Joel Kolsha.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we do that. We do acoustic and full band stuff, and I'm doing with a buddy of mine 2 for the show. It's a Journey Bon Jovi tribute act. It's 1 hour of Journey, 1 hour Bon Jovi, and so we've done a couple shows. We played big theaters. We played the Flint Theater. We played Brat Days in Wisconsin. And it's fun. I mean, listen, it's an hour of Bon Jovi and an hour of Journey.
What is that band called again, or what is that?
Two for the show. And
okay.
It's One Wild Night is the Bon Jovi experience, and then we do the Journey stuff. So it's
okay. Cool. Jackie was asking the bucket list interview. I think I said earlier, Sebastian definitely and Axl Rose are 2 of mine in terms of music ones. Like, I have other ones, comedy, like Quentin Tarantino for movies. I'd love to have him on. He just did Rogan. What about you, Troy? Is there? You said
Yeah,
you,
well,
you
I
couldn't
mentioned
think of it
earlier
earlier, right?
Doug Pinnick for sure.
Doug
From
Pinnick, I can
Tech.
get you Doug Pinnick. Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to hook that up. Doug and I are
Yeah.
buds on Facebook, and I've interacted with him, but it's been a long time, so I don't know that he'd remember me. But I'd love to have him on. John Sykes, I'd love to have on.
That's what it was. John Sykes. That
Yeah.
was a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are kind of two that I think I'm gonna kind of pursue. So
And Skylar's asking, are you playing the whiskey at all?
Well, Gilby will be at the whiskey, I believe, on the 20th, but I'm not going to be there for that. That's going to be Jason Sutter and Sean McNabb, and he's kind of doing he's got a side project called the Keith Richards, and it's just stonesy, bluesy, and then he works in a couple of his solo songs. So he's been kind of going back and forth. When we go to South American stuff, it's got to be the Gilby Clarke show with all Gilby Clarke. But some of these other dates that we played the whiskey 3 times in the last year. And then we also played Down the Road with Dead Daisies earlier in 2024. So we played a lot of Hollywood. So he's trying to intermix the Keith Richards and a little bit more of his solo stuff. And he's just going to do it for the first few dates of the year and see how it goes, So I think he's just trying to not necessarily rebrand himself, but when you kind of go back to the same places, at some point you got to give him maybe a slightly different product. So I think he's kind of working that out.
That's cool. Well, let me know if you ever come back to Phoenix, Scottsdale area.
For sure.
And
we'll grab a beer and hang out and catch up.
Yeah, or if I'm in Phoenix, if I'm in Vegas or I think I saw Bret Michaels was doing a show in Laughlin, which I was like, oh, that could be kind of fun. Like that might be a fun road trip.
You can't spell Laughlin without laughing.
Yeah. Right? Oh, so this guy said I saw Gilby with Eric Singer on drums at the Mason Jar. Oh wow!
I played the Mason Jar.
Yeah, that's like a legendary club I've heard about. That was before.
Great one.
I think it's called the Rebel Lounge now. It's still there. It's just renamed.
Yeah, is that the Rebel? Because I played the Rebel with Tantric. I actually have a Rebel.
Oh, okay.
Shirt. Yeah.
So
I didn't. Maybe I did then, but that didn't register to me that was the old Mason Jar.
I thought so. I don't know because I'm not from here. So I'm from Seattle. So like if you talked about like the Moore Theater or the Paramount or Rock Candy, I remember those places. But even then in Seattle, like I feel like I only lived in Seattle, for about 8 or 9 years of being over 21, all the over 20. And then a lot of that I was in college. So I didn't really go to the clubs in Seattle when I was 21, but it's cool. Like I wish I would have gone to more shows when I was in Seattle, like in the music scene in the 90s, even though I'm more of an 80s music fan. Like it would have been cool to see Alice in Chains and Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Candlebox and all those places.
Yeah, it was a whole scene, I don't know that I would have been a part of it, but unless that was the only thing kind of happening, definitely would have checked it out. So
yeah, cool. Well, thanks so much for doing this, Troy. Anything else you want to promote?
No, man.
Your radio show, obviously.
Yeah, well, next Wednesday, I'm actually doing a special Christmas show. So every year, Christmas time, this year it happens to fall right on Christmas Day. I'm doing a 5-hour show from noon Pacific to 5 p.m. Typically, it's from 5 to 8, but on Christmas Day, typically it's 2 to 5 on Wednesdays. I'm going noon to 5 next Wednesday, Christmas Day, live, and I've got Christmas music by Alice Cooper, Dio, music from Firehouse, all sorts of bands. And I have the guys sending show IDs wishing their fans and listeners happy holidays. And maybe they talk a little bit about the Christmas song that they did. I've got Fuel. I just picked up a new song with Bill Leverty. And I've got, Firehouse, Danger, Danger. I got a new Ted Poley one. And Ted Poley was just on the show. So every year the show expands another hour. So this year it'll be from noon to 5 Pacific at dirtyradio.fm on channel 2. It's Dirty Radio Classics. We've got 2 channels, and it's the This, That, and the Other radio show. And you can find everything about it and also stream it from drummertroy.com.
Okay, awesome. And Jackie's saying she will share it on her IG. Skylar's saying great show tonight. Guys. So thanks so much for doing this, Troy. And we'll be in touch. And let me know if you're in Phoenix. I'll let you know if I'm in Vegas.
For sure, man. And thanks for everybody that popped in and had some questions and said hey and hung out. And Chuck, thanks for having me on. It's always fun to kind of recap the year and talk about nothing for an hour with you. And enjoy your program. Happy holidays and Happy New Year, bro.
All right, you too. All right, see you later.
All right, take care,
everybody.
Man. Good night. Good night.
Okay. I think that ended.